Greetings loyal subscribers and honoured guests. It's time once again to take another nostalgic and critical look at one of the classic Commodore format cover tapes. This time we're up to issue 7, and this particular tape is considered to be one of the best by many. With 4 full games and no demos this time around, it certainly looks very promising. But will I agree? Let's take a closer look. Uridium is first up, and it's a fast and furious arcade style blaster. While the graphics are not all that colourful, they do have a nice fast pace with smooth scrolling. There's no music once you get into the game itself, but the theme tune on the title screen is nice and catchy. As for the gameplay, it's rather tough, but most definitely fun. Your overall objective is to do enough damage to the defences of the Super Dreadnought that you're flying over in order to be able to land and initiate the self-destruct sequence. You then hightail it out of there while the Dreadnought evaporates below you. This is easier said than done though, because there are waves of enemy fighters hounding you as you carry out your mission, things to crash into, and mines that will launch and home into you if you spend too much time on a screen with a glowing square on it. If you do survive, then you get to do the whole thing over again on a different, tougher Super Dreadnought. It can prove to be a very addictive game. I wouldn't stop until I had managed to get past the first Super Dreadnought at least once, and even after that I carried on for a while in an attempt to do better. Uridium is considered by many to be a true classic C64 title, but strangely it's one that I spent very little time playing back in my youth. It does live up to the hype though, and I can see myself coming back to it later for some more blasting. Great stuff. At first glance, Blue Max reminded me of a version of Sega's Zaxxon set in World War II, or maybe an isometric river raid. The overall aim of the game is to take down enemy planes and to bomb various targets such as buildings, bridges, gun emplacements and cars. While flying your little plane is not that tough in itself, getting used to the isometric perspective and lining yourself up with the other planes can take some getting used to. There is a little arrow in the bottom right of the screen that helps you with this though. I also found that I was wasting a lot of bombs because holding the fire button down while diving releases them. I eventually trained myself into not just holding the fire button down all the time and drop bombs only when I needed to, but it took a while to get out of the arcade blaster mindset. Blue Max is another game that doesn't feature any music while you're playing through the missions, but it does feature a quite nice rendition of a classical piece on the title screen. Don't ask me to name it though. With a bit of practice I could see myself getting into this game, but at the moment I am really rather rubbish at it and couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with my bombs if I tried. The trick is to get used to the feedback that the game gives you, such as the arrow I mentioned before that helps with dogfighting, and the colour indicator that lets you know if you're at strafing height or flying too low to the ground. Blue Max is a game which is fairly easy to pick up and play, yet has lots of hidden depth. Exactly the sort of game that works really well on a cover tape. I like it. Next up is another isometric game, this time a platformer of sorts rather than a shoot 'em up. Crystal Castles is another classic that I have somehow managed not to play until now. Again, the perspective can cause some issues as I sometimes found myself going in directions that I didn't really intend to go in. After a few games I did start to get used to it though. Continuing my habit of comparing games to other games, Crystal Castles plays like a 3D version of Pac-Man. You control Bentley Bear and your objective is to collect all the gems on a stage while avoiding various enemies such as killer trees and caterpillars. Collecting honeypots gives you bonus points, and picking up a magic hat gives you temporary invulnerability. Clearing all the gems moves you on to the next stage, which is a completely different layout with its own challenges. Sometimes some of the gems are on raised up parts of the level and have to be accessed by little elevators that go up and down constantly. The levels start off fairly easy but get more and more challenging as you go. Sometimes you will have very little room to manoeuvre around your enemies. The stages can feature tunnels that you can escape down and come out in a different part of the level, which is cool. Like the other games featured on this tape, there is not a lot of music to speak of in Crystal Castles, just some nice little ditties that play as you begin the stage. The graphics are nice, and it's good that the levels are kept to one screen, as scrolling stages would have made it hard to keep track of the enemies. Crystal Castles is a lot of fun once you get used to the perspective and the controls. Another solid addition to this tape. The final game on this tape is a driving game by the name of Fifth Gear, which is a rather nice change of pace. The graphics are drawn from a top-down perspective, rather like Spy Hunter, and you have to navigate a course within a strict time limit while blasting other racers out of the way. The game feels more like a time trial than an actual proper race against AI opponents though, as those other cars are there more to get in your way than race against. You will find yourself weaving around fences and bushes, using dirt ramps to jump over rivers, avoiding gun turrets and more. Most of the time I would advise not going too fast, as you may drive straight into the path of a train for example. But there are also other times when you have to be going flat out to survive the jumps across water. This is quite a novel game, but also quite challenging. I was unable to make it past the first stage while playing the game for this video. To help you out a little bit, there are various shops throughout the stage that sell improved weapons, repair your car, top up your fuel, or sell extras like special tyres that will allow you to just drive straight across the water. Money is earned by blasting other vehicles and getting to the end of the race with time left on the clock. The graphics are pretty good, while the sound effects in-game are merely competent. Again though, this game features some good music on the title screen. So there we are then. I do think this tape has been one of the best so far to this point. I have found all the games quite challenging to play, but they were also simple enough without having to wade through pages of instructions first, and they also had an addictive quality about them. I am planning to make another Commodore Classics video this week, however this won't be another Covertape Chaos episode. Instead it will be something I've been meaning to do for quite some time, a review show. I am intending to feature 4 games in each episode and talk about each one for 5 minutes maximum. The first 3 games in an episode will be ones that I'm already familiar with, and the 4th will be something chosen at random that I've never played before. Interspersed between the reviews will be brief snippets of awesome SID tunes from various C64 games. I hope you watch and enjoy my review show when it appears. In the meantime, take care.